Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now, let's take you through the newspapers this morning, share with you the big stories making headlines across Nigeria. We're kicking off on the Punch this morning. Off-season polls, military, police vow tough actions for ballot box snatchers and others.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, it's funny because it's not the first time, and I said this yesterday, that we've seen these things play out multiple times. I even saw some tweets yesterday, or some posts on X yesterday saying, because I saw there was a video that was posted of people cheering, the army and the police, in I think that must have been Bayelsa State. And so questions that were asked why is the Nigerian army getting itself involved in elections? What is the business of the Nigerian army in Nigeria's elections? First of all, the police aren't even allowed to carry, weapons, while monitoring the elections, right? But how did we get to the level where we belittle the army so badly that we bring them out when it's time for elections? That's one question. And then two, the reaction that a lot of people had when they saw the video of people cheering the army in Bayelsa State. A lot of people said, they're not there to you. They're there to, anyway, I don't want to say that on national television. But the point is that we have seen these things happen over and over and over on the federal level, on the state level, and we've seen that the police has not been effective. The security agencies have not been effective with stopping ballot box snatching or stopping the violence that occurs during the elections. They have also not been effective in any way in protecting people who have lost their lives during elections. I remember that in the 2023 elections, people lost their lives here in Lagos. Till tomorrow, we cannot point to anybody who was arrested for the murder or for the violence that was meted out on voters during the elections. There are still pictures of people who carried ballot boxes and walked away after destroying the polling unit and polling booth. Till today, the Nigerian government cannot, outrightly point out, or the state governments cannot outrightly point out anybody who was arrested for disrupting the electoral process. And these are some of the things that you will not simply ignore, with these news stories and say, the police are present in the election, so everybody should, be...
Peace be still.
And I don't know if they do not see that nobody believes these things anymore.
We will see now. Let's not preempt what will happen. It's in a few days.
Security chiefs warn hoodlums. 67,000 policemen for Kogi Bayelsa governorship elections. IG orders site security collation centers. Federal government vows transparency. Saraki demands fairness.
And you can see the pictures of these military personnel in Kogi and Bayelsa. Those are their pictures. They are ready for war.
Well, U.S. security advisory needless, discourages investors, says the federal government. And also 4.3 trillion naira lost to oil theft in 5 years, says the government.
There'll be more, unfortunately, because they will tell you that the people who are involved in this oil theft are known structured cabals.
Yeah.
And until we're ready to actually do the work, and until the government is ready to be honest with itself, there will continually be oil theft, because there's no way that they're moving barrels and barrels of oil across Nigeria's waters that the Nigerian Navy is not aware of it. It is a cabal.
Maybe not the Navy, but somebody's aware.
Yeah, but
somebody.
They can't pass the waters without, for example, the Navy being aware of who is crossing certain territories, for example. There are structures.
If they are not aware, then there's also a problem. So if they claim that they are not aware,
how are you protecting Nigeria's territorial integrity on its waters if you are not aware of how these things are being smuggled?
No, but the point is, I don't think we can outrightly say, the Navy is aware. We hope that they, are doing the work that is necessary to, stop these things. But if they claim that they are not aware, then it's also a failure on their part.
Then the government too cannot outrightly say they're not aware of who is who and who are
somebody's aware, of course. INEC delays trial of 197 electoral offenders. All right. Soldiers in show of force patrol Kogi Bayelsa flashpoints. Also, court rejects Akeredolu lawmaker suit against Aida Tiwa. Lagos slashes BRT fares by 25% after passengers' outcry. And also, 2 die in Canadian embassy fire.
That's very sad.
It's a really sad story yesterday in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Well, these are the major stories on the Punch newspapers this morning. And just like Olive had mentioned, the Nigerian government cannot say, in confidence that it is not aware of whichever cabals are stealing Nigeria's crude. If it says that, then it also should say it with, a potload of shame because it means that all the structures and security agencies and infrastructure that you put in place are failing every day and have been failing for decades, and you still have not fixed them. And this includes, of course, the federal government level and on the state level. But yes, these are the stories on the Punch.
Let's move away from the Punch to another paper this morning, and we're looking this time at Nigerian News Direct. CBN borrowing to banks increases by 466% to 268.3 billion naira. Manufacturers' debt to banks hit 6.98 trillion in June, according to CBN. Expert raises alarm over banks' liquidity. Supreme Court judgment. Obi accuses judges of breach of constitution. Describes INEC as incompetent. PMAWCA 2023. Federal government urges African leaders to prioritize blue economy for prosperity. And then we have at the top of the paper, 2 fear dead as diesel explosion rocks Canadian High Commission in Abuja. Naira falls to 1,020 naira to the dollar at parallel market. NLNG train 7 projects hits 52% completion. These are the stories we have. Oh, the final story. EFCC flouts court order, fails to produce Emefiele in court. At this point, I wonder who will call the EFCC to order, or who has the power to call the EFCC to order, because it seems that the EFCC is a government on its own that doesn't obey court orders, that flouts court orders. And if the EFCC cannot obey court orders, we are in trouble.
It's not the EFCC, it is the EFCC is under the executive arm of government, so it's really just the executive that is continuing to
disrespect the judiciary.
That's just what it is. And
so,
I said it earlier that it is evidence of the system that we have and how dysfunctional we are as a country.
Yeah.
So it's not just the EFCC that will do it.
But what we're going to see is there'll be more mass detentions or more detentions without explanations, detentions that would not require people being brought before a court of competent jurisdiction within 24 hours. And at the end of the day, there'll be no explanation for this. I want to see what will come out of the Abdulrashid Bawa case against EFCC. The suing for illegal detention. I want to see what will come of that case. And if at all any judgment is awarded in favor of him, if EFCC or the executive, like you say, would actually pay the sum. But I don't have my hopes up.
Not very likely. All right. The story on the Labour Party case, I'm not sure where it is now. Supreme Court judgment, yes. Obi accuses judges of breach of constitution. I just want to share what he said in the press conference. It says he said, "It is therefore with great dismay that I observe that the court's decision contradicts the overwhelming evidence of election rigging, false claim of a technical glitch, substantial non-compliance with rules set by INEC itself, as well as matters of perjury, identity theft, and forgery that have been brought to light in the course of the election matter. These were hefty allegations that should not be treated with levity, and more appalling, the Supreme Court judgment willfully condoning breaches of the Constitution relative to established qualifications and parameters for candidates in presidential elections." He then went on to say that with this counterintuitive judgment, the Supreme Court has transferred a heavy moral burden from the courtrooms to our national conscience. Our young democracy is ultimately the main victim and casualty of the courtroom drama. I was from a governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, yesterday. All right, let's move away from Nigerian News Direct to what we can find in other newspapers this morning. The Guardian newspaper comes up next. It says, less than 30% of registered voters will decide Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi polls. This could be partly because I probably need to look out for what the statistics have always been in these states. Have they always had a low turnout of voters? Or is this particular, is this one peculiar to, the times that we're currently in? Because we had the fear that after the 2023 general elections, the level of interest that people would have in the electoral process would be a lot less. And it says here on The Guardian that voter turnout, Bayelsa is down by 20 points rather, from 36.4% to 16.4%. Sad.
The off-cycle elections will be a reflection of what we should expect, and maybe might be a reflection of what to expect at the next election. There's a high level of gross dissatisfaction nationally, globally, by Nigerians. So yes, I'm not surprised by reduced turnout of voters at the elections.
Well, of the people who registered, I'm sure that they, a lot of them would also be wanting to participate. Those who registered for the 2023 elections, who got their voters' cards back then, the old and the new registrants, would want to be a part of it. But yes, you are right. The level of interest that people would have to actually come out and vote might be different. And what it's showing here is that Imo State has just 2.4 million registered voters. Bayelsa has 1.05 million registered voters. Kogi has 1.9 million registered voters. It's definitely a lot less than was expected for these elections. And these are the persons who will decide who becomes next governor of these individual states. Really, really shocking numbers, especially Bayelsa. Bayelsa has.
How many did you say Imo has?
2.4 million. And
that is out of 5.459 million people, according to 2022 stats.
Yeah.
So it's not a good look.
No, it's not. It's not. But once again, these are. I think it's a general number. The 5.4 million is a general number among the three states.
No. I'm looking at Imo's population.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Yeah. But anyway, these are the statistics for the elections. They're coming up this weekend here in Nigeria, Kogi State, Imo, and Bayelsa State. And they're going to be really, really tough, especially in Kogi, where I think Dino Melai is going to be contesting. In Imo State, where the current governor, Hope Uzodinma, of course, came in through very, very funny means, with the Supreme Court 4 years ago. And is going to be contesting against Labour Party's Ethan Achon, who has grown in popularity along with the popularity of the Labour Party in Imo State. These are some of the things that a lot of people are going to be looking out for to see how they turn out this weekend.
And Bayelsa, of course, has Timipre running for
Timipre
office.
Silva, yes,
has,
once again.
Ruled in his favor that he can run for office. Now, let's quickly squeeze in one more newspaper this morning. Our final paper for the morning, Daily Independent newspaper. Insurance industry experts play down 50 billion naira capital base, seek risk-based approach. Say firm with 5 billion naira capital base can underwrite 250 billion naira fire risk. Tinubu mourns passage of Soludo's father. Supreme Court breached Nigerians' trust in the judiciary, according to Peter Obi. U.S. forecasts $100 billion revenue for Nigeria's creative industries by 2030. That's a good look. Court finds NYSC 5 million naira for labeling Mba's NYSC certificate fake. Produce Emefiele in court tomorrow. Judge orders EFCC. We'll see now. Tomorrow is just a few hours away. PDP asks INEC to emulate IGP and remove Agu as Imo REC. Again, 3 persons shot dead, 2 others injured in Benue community. These things are starting to just sound like numbers, because every day we always see things like this, stories like this in the news, which is very heartbreaking. Senate to include dredging of River Benue in 2024 budget on page 2. Expert advances reasons Harmattan weather affects flights in Nigeria. And final story, U.S. travel advisory undermining federal government's efforts to attract investment and boost tourism, says minister. I don't understand why they are upset about U.S. Travel advisory. Of course, the U.S. will give travel advisory to protect its residents. You to give travel advisory for your own citizens in other countries and do the work that needs to be done in the tourism sector. But yes, these are the stories we have this morning on the front pages of the newspaper.